Today, we will visit a house that gradually told us its story. It's Madeleine's house. Years ago, she lived with her husband, who helped her with her daily chores. Since Madeleine lost one of her lower limbs at some point in her life. Prosthetics back then were very different from today's versions. It allowed her to walk, but she had a significant limp that prevented her from living a normal life on her own. She always relied on her husband, but life dealt her another hard blow. Her husband passed away. After his loss, she managed on her own in the house for several years, but being alone, with no one to help her, became too much for her. It was then that she decided to move into a nursing home, also known as a retirement home. There, she would spend the rest of her days with the assistance she needed. A sad ending, but sadly, it's all too common. We end our days in a place that isn't our home, with people we don't know. We've been walking in the garden for a while, and we still can't see the house. We're already getting closer to the house. Look at what they're putting in our way. A short figure that's been standing still for many years. Let's keep going. We're already inside, and this is the main entrance. They piled up a bunch of things at the door so it couldn't be opened. Look, this is the first thing we found. If I'm not mistaken, that's a powder charger. For an old rifle. Look at the entryway they had. There's still an umbrella hanging there. Look at how many cobwebs there are. Something very curious that I noticed in the house is that both the walls and the light switches are very dirty. Look here on the wall. There's a mark in the center of the wall running up the stairs. Madeleine probably had to lean on the wall to help herself up the stairs, and that's why that mark is on the wall. Here we enter the kitchen. It looks like the cabinet was burned at some point. And this one too. It actually smells burnt. It's really strange that it got burned. Just these two pieces of furniture. And the rest of the kitchen, right? And check the kitchen clock. It's also charred. What a cool pendulum. And look, this is what I was telling you about society. Look at all the grease on the wall. It seems that lately he wasn't cooking with the stove anymore, but with this electric hot plate. Would it be easier for him? Look over there. Cool, the kitchen towels are still hanging up on the line, and look, there on the table we already find the first bills. And as we go upstairs, all of this will start to make sense. And the living room is impressive. Take a look. How decadent. Here they would eat and spend most of their time. How often would they see their reflection in that mirror? We can already see some paintings. I'm going to show you details of the room. Take a look. Like this one here. They used to cook here. They had all the utensils to preserve. Even for crocheting. Look. A pin with the French flag. Wow, the amount of details in here. A bunch of buttons. Look at the clocks they had on the wall. With how many details? Here we have a painting that you can hardly see anymore, covered in cobwebs. Look at this kind of crochet curtain, which she probably made herself. Look at the cannabis oil with omega-3 and 6. I would take it. Vitamins, and look. 2009, the expiration date. They had the dining room heavily decorated. Look, she even crocheted something for the fireplace. Here they had a small storage room. Look, there's another crochet piece here. And here they had a desk. Look at the painting above. And a girl. It can't be opened. (1915). The Great War. Look at the amount of details we have around here. And this here, I'm not sure. Look at what it is. I think it was to put out the candles, but I'm not really sure. And here we have some similar ones. Oh, look, what a photograph. Here are still all the glasses. And here there's even a lamp. Look at all the details we find on the table. With this tray, little cups and teapot. It has this little table. They likely had a figurine. Beautiful their cabezas, elephant. And now we're going to go upstairs. Now I'll show you the second floor. And this is when we're going to tie up all the loose ends. Now, I'm going to show you one of the rooms in this house that really amazed me. And it's this one. Because of this right here. Look, the prosthetics. They are 2 leg prosthetics. But we've noticed that both of them are for the left foot. We know from the story that they belong to the woman. She likely had one leg amputated, but not the other. She walked with a cane, as you can see. And we believe this was her room. We have seen many letters, and we will go to doctors, and we will see little by little translating as best we can, because it will be in French. Look, here are some bandages. Wow, look at this. It was to cover the leg so it could fit into the prosthesis without getting hurt too much. Care for amputation. Incredible. Wow, here's more. And look, these are like stockings. Look what it was. It was for the leg amputation. What does it give to find these things? And here, above the fireplace, we found the first medicines. Antispasmodique. I have an idea what it might be for. And here's a rosary. Look, there's even clothes and everything, and it looks like they're for a lady. It's a shame we can't get into the closet, but here's another one. All of this is full of sheets. Blankets. There's not much clothing, honestly. Look at what he had on his nightstand, right above the bed. A photo of another girl. And isn't this the same one as the one downstairs? Look here. She probably sat here to put on her prosthesis. Science course. Look what was between the pages of the book. A 4-leaf clover. Here, on the other little table up there, there's a photo of a baby. And this looks like cotton. He may have used it to place inside the prosthesis, so it would be more comfortable. Keep in mind that those prostheses are very old and they must have been quite uncomfortable, both to put on and to wear. Look at that hat. Look at that. Look at that hat. There he is. Here we have more bandages, these for the amputation. From here, even a story, and it's completely painted. Some child. Let's move on to the other room. Look what they had here. A small sink with its mirror. And they still have things there. Inhalation, it says there. They seem like medicine. And look, a shotgun shell. From here we have dicks. It could also have been some kind of vitamin that was taken. And this is the other room, the room across the hall. Look, there are a lot of medications there. What a huge closet. Let's start focusing on the details now. Here on the couch, she also crocheted a couch cover. She loved to sew. It was probably her hobby. Since having a limp, she couldn't do many things. There are many types of medications. Tablets. Look, I had bottles, but there, and they have a bar to measure. From this flammable lot. Look, everyone, at all the pills that are here. And medicines all around. Probably for the pain he felt in his leg. And this is full of capsules. They were likely vitamins too. Look at this. I'm not sure what it's for. I couldn't use it. They're all medications. Look here, I'll have to blur this out. Madeleine de Rai. Look at this, Maison de Retraite. It's a retirement mansion and it's a hospital. It might have been a nursing home. He probably got older and it became too hard for him to stay in this house with the amputation. And on top of that, this house has 2 floors. Well, 3 with the attic, so it would be pretty complicated for him. I'll translate this part for you. In response to your letter, I wish to send you an excerpt from the administrative regulations of our retirement home. Here you will see the prices and the main conditions that you might need. If needed, we encourage families or interested parties to visit us. Please accept my greetings, madam. Wow, look. They're syringes. They're glass syringes. From here, it has the needle. He also injected himself. I'm not sure if it was just the amputation or if he had other issues. Health problems. The body's defense against infections. Microbe? Let's talk about infections. Tissue repair. This would also be for amputation, so it wouldn't get infected, and so the tissues would repair. Let's start opening some drawers. I found this room even more interesting than the other one because of all the details we've been finding. Hairpins. Wow, it's full of bandages, really full. Well, maybe this was his room and not the other one. And someone took the legs there. The prosthetics. And look at this. These little glass cups are full. They use them in physical therapy to eliminate pain. She was probably applying it to herself. On her leg. So it wouldn't hurt her. She was probably in a lot of pain, and that's why she had this. Wow, incredible. How a house like this slowly reveals its story. And all that woman must have endured then. Who had far fewer things. And they were less prepared for something like that. Wow, it's packed with bandages all over. And with cotton. After having found all those medicines, all the medicines we have here, and also the drawer with all the bandages, which has been very revealing to know and imagine. In this room, it was where she lived or slept with her husband, and from what we know, her husband died before she did. And from the papers we found here, we imagine that after her husband's death, it must have been very hard for her to stay in the house alone with that amputation, without her husband's help. She chose to find a nursing home to spend her remaining days. And we overlooked this closet. That doesn't have any clothes. It only has blankets and sheets. Probably when he decided to move into a nursing home. So that his life, I imagine, would be easier, he gathered all his clothes. That's why we haven't found practically any clothes, after tying up all the loose ends we had to tie. With this room, we're going up to the attic, which is the last thing left to see in the house. Notice that the attic is overflowing with stored things. You can hardly get through because of all the stuff that's here. Look, more vials. Even at the end I see a bicycle. Well, that's all for now. I hope you liked the video. I really enjoyed it. It's a house that made me feel a lot of things, and little by little we've been discovering its whole history. And well, if you liked it, give it a like, and I'll see you at the next place. See you next time.